Okay, so you still have this chart. Okay, this is a chart I gave you on Thursday when we first went over writing equations of parabolas. Okay, so you do have two different forms. You have a y equals and an x equals. So you do need to know which one you're talking about when you're writing out these equations. Okay, so one goes up and down, the other one goes left and right. Okay, your vertex is still in the same spot. It's at HK. However, in your x equals equation, your k value is inside the parentheses and h is on the outside. And in your y equals, h is on the inside and k is on the outside. Okay, today you are going to be using directrix and focus. Okay, so some of these you will be given a focus point and some you will be given the equation of the directrix. You're going to use that to find that a value. Okay, so you have to set up an equation to solve for that a value, which is missing from the equation. So, going over some examples. In number 1, you are given the vertex and the directrix. Okay, so your vertex is always at HK. So we do have our h and k values in our equation here. Now, for your directrix, it's given as y equals -6. So I'm going to look at my chart and see which one of my directrixes is y equals. Okay, so this one is x equals, this one is y equals. So since this one is y equals, that means I'm writing my equation in this form. Okay, so I'm writing it as a y equals equation. You see how I figured that out using just that directrix? Yes? Do you understand that? Okay, my directrix was y equals. This one is y equals, so I use this equation. Okay? Now, in this equation, you don't change x or y. Okay, x or y stays the same. I do have my h value, it's 4. And I have this k value. Okay, it's -5. However, I don't have a. So somehow I have to find out what a is. Well, I know the equation to find our directrix. All right, it is y equals k minus 1 over 4a. All right, so I know what y is. Okay, y is -6. So that's what I'm going to plug in for y. I also know what k is. All right, k is -5. So in this k spot, I'm going to plug in -5. So for y, I'll plug in -6 here. And for k, I'll plug in -5. And then I have minus 1 over 4a. And from here, I just want to solve for a. So I will add 5 to both sides of that equation. So I have -1 is equal to -1 over 4a. Now to get 4a out of the denominator, I'm going to multiply both sides by 4a. Okay, that way over here they cancel each other out. So I have -4a, so I have -1 times 4a. -4a equals -1. To get a by itself then, divide by -4. So I do just get a is equal to 1/4. So now I have a, h, and k. And I just need to plug those into that formula to write out my equation. So we have y equals, our a value is 1/4 times the quantity of x minus our h value. Our h value we get from our vertex, that is 4. That quantity is squared. And then plus our k value. Our k value is -5. So we can say -5, or you can say plus -5. That works as well. And that would just be the equation of that parabola. Okay, questions on that first one? All right, we'll do another example. So number 2, we are given the vertex and the focus. Okay, so vertex again is always at h, k. All right, your vertex point is always h, comma, k. So I have an h value and I have a k value. Now again, I still need to find a, but looking at my focus, what is similar between these 2 points? They both have a 1, right? So between your vertex and your focus point in your chart above, you have to see where your h's are the same. Okay, so if I look at the vertex right here, I have hk, and focus right here, I have h, and then my y value changes, right? So my h values stay the same here, just like they should both be 1. Okay, so that means I'm using this equation. Now notice if I use the other one, I still have hk, but then looking across at your focus, that x value would be different. Okay, so that's why I'm not using this equation here. I wanted it where my x value stays the same. Okay, so I am going to again use this equation. So we're using y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. Now my focus point is at h, comma, k plus 1/4a. Well, since I have my h and k value, again, I need to find a. So I'm going to use this right here. Okay, I know what k is. Okay, k is 3. So I can plug in 3 for k. And I'll highlight that. 3 for k. I have plus 1/4a. Do you know what that's equal to? It is equal to 5. It has to equal that y value. So whatever I plug in for k and a has to equal out to whatever that y value is in that coordinate point. Okay, so it has to equal 5. So from here again, all I have to do is solve for a. So subtract 3 from both sides of that equation. We have 1/4a is equal to 2. What's my next step? What? Yes. Okay, I multiplied 4a on both sides. Then I had to divide by 8. So a is 1/8. Okay, from here now I have a and I have h and k. And that's all I need to plug that into that equation. So we have y equals 1/8 times x minus our h value is 1. That quantity is squared. and then plus our k value is 3. And that would be the equation of that parabola. Okay, questions on those first two? Everybody get my notes down? All right, now on the back, this one, we're not given the vertex. Okay, you're given the focus and the directrix. So we still have to use that to figure out which one of our two equations we need to use. So here, I'm going to look at the directrix. Okay, your directrix is x equals -2. So on the front, look at your directrix equations. Which one says x equals? The second column, right? So if I'm on the front here, and I'm looking at the row directrix, this one says y equals. So I don't use that one. This one says x equals. So this is our equation that we need to use. So we're using x equals a times y minus, y minus k squared plus h. Okay, so on the front then, with your focus in that column, okay, I know I'm using this column. My focus in that column is this equation. So I have h plus 1 over 4a k for that point. Okay, so that's your focus. Then again, in that same column, your directrix equation is x is equal to h minus 1 over 4a. Okay, well now what I want to do is find my vertex because I want to know what h is. So I already have part of my vertex. Okay, my vertex is at hk. Well, I know what k is. K is 6. Something to keep in mind, your vertex is halfway between the focus and the directrix. Sorry. Okay, your vertex is halfway between the focus and the directrix. So we can find that middle point between the two. Well, since I already have k and my directrix is an x equals form, we need to average our x values between the two. Okay? So, since the directrix is x equals, we need to use the x from the focus and average. Okay, so we're going to average those two x values. To get h. Okay, so averaging our x's, that'll give us h here. So our x value in our focus is 5. And the x value for the directrix is -2. So we want to add those and divide by 2 since there are 2 of them. And that gives us 3/2. So our h value is 3/2 or 1.5. Okay, so our vertex is at HK, and we just found our h value is 3/2. And then what's our k value? Six. Okay, so k is 6. So now we have h and k. So now, since I found h, I also have to find a. Okay, I'm not given a. So our next step here is to find a. And with that, I'm going to use the directrix just like we did on the front. Okay, so using that directrix, we have our x value. Okay, our x value is -2. We have our h value now. Okay, our h value is 3/2 or 1.5. Okay, and then the rest of my equation is -1/4a. So I'm going to change this 3/2 to 1.5 just because I know you like that a little bit better. Okay, so subtract 1.5 from both sides of that equation. And we can just solve like we were before. Okay, so next step is multiply 4a on both sides. So I have -14a equals -1. To get a is equal to 1/14. Okay, so now I have h, k, and a. That's all I need to plug in to our form up here. Okay, so my equation will be x equals our a value is 1/14 times the quantity of y minus k. All right, our k value is 6. And then plus our h value is 3/2 or 1.5. If you write 1.5, that's fine. Okay, so that one had a couple more steps here, just averaging those x values between the two to get your vertex. Questions? Anybody still need a little more time to copy that? All right, last one. So we want to write an equation for a parabolic mirror that has a focus that is 4.5 feet above the vertex. Okay, a lattice rectum that is 18 feet long. And the focus is at the origin. Okay, so the focus is at the origin. So what coordinate is that? What coordinate is the origin? 0, 0. So our focus is at 0, 0. Now, it's saying that the focus is 4.5 feet above the vertex. So if I look at a sketch of a graph here, and I know the focus is at the origin, and that focus is 4.5 feet above the vertex. Okay, that means the vertex is down here, right? If the focus is 4.5 feet above it, your vertex then would be down here. Okay, so that point will be at 0, negative 4.5. Okay, since the focus is above it by 4.5 feet. Now, your focus is always on the inside of the parabola. Okay, it's never on the outside of it. So that means your parabola is going up this way. Okay, your focus is always on that inside part there. So this is your vertex point. So the vertex is at 0, negative 4.5. Now in my focus and vertex, we have 0 and 0 here, meaning we're of the form y is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k. So our vertex is at h. Okay, so we still have to find out what a is. Now to find out what a is, we can use this lattice rectum of 18 feet. Now to find what that is, if you look at the front, we have our length is 1 over a units. Okay, so it's 1 over a units. So that means I can set 18, which is its length, equal to 1 over a. It doesn't, because it's going to be positive. Okay, it's going to be positive because my parabola is going up. So if your parabola was going down, then it'd be negative. Because the length of it is always positive, but to figure out what a is, if your parabola is going down, your a value is negative. If your parabola is going up, it's positive. So in this case, I know it's going to be positive because my parabola is going up. Does that make sense? All right, from here I'm just going to solve for a, so I'm going to multiply both sides by a. So I have 18a is equal to 1. Then to get a by itself, we'll divide by 18. So a is 1 over 18. So now I do have a. I have what h is, it's 0. And I have what k is, it is negative 4.5. So all I have to do is plug in those values to that equation. So we have y equals 1 over 18 times x minus h is 0, that's squared, and then plus our k value, or just minus 4.5. But again, you can write plus that negative 4.5, and that's still correct. Okay, so you can write it this way, or whenever you have this 0 value for h, you can also write it as y equals 1 over 18 x squared minus 4.5. Okay, so whenever you have h is that 0 value, or you have a 0 value in those parentheses, you can just get rid of it. Once you FOIL it out, you're just going to end up with x squared anyways. Okay, so either or for that equation there.